once the ads are all dead after the... So once the breath goes off, we want to pull the dragon away from the dead ads so that melee DPS can keep hitting him, and we don't have to worry about the corpses that are on the ground underneath his butt. Hello there, and welcome to the first episode of the Tanks Chronicles. Today we are playing Warrior Tank. It is Necrotic Wake, and we are going to be using a slightly different route than I see most Pug tanks using. Right now, well, it'll become self-evident, but I pull the first three groups, and right away I'm using like Demoralizing Shout, and this week it's Sanguine, so we're moving around a lot as things start to die to try to drag them away so they're not standing in the pools of blood. On this video I'm going to focus a lot on mistakes that I make in particular. I think that's a valuable thing for anyone to do, is record your videos, and if you basically just try to identify what you could have done better in any given situation. Unfortunately, we had to pull this video from Twitch. Some complete dumbass forgot to start the local recording, and it got a little choppy. But it was a really clean run, and well, I want to get the video out. Slight mistake there. None of us kicked the guy making the shield, so I had to use Shattering Throw, which is really nice for getting rid of shields like that. There we go. He actually got kicked that time. But yeah, it should be a fun little video here. Really standard so far. You pull the three groups. You want somebody to grab the hammer next to the guy. It's almost impossible to grab the hammer without pulling the dude. So, and then whoever grabs the hammer also needs to grab the spear. You always want to grab the hammer before the spear, because the spear gives a 30%, I think, damage debuff, and the hammer, like when you throw the hammer second, then the hammer damage is amplified by the spear damage. And then you see here we're basically keeping things stunned, keeping things together until things start to die, and then we want to start running away. It's really hard to deal with like drain fluids if no one kicks it. I track the interrupts cooldowns over here on the left side of the screen. I track everyone's defensive cooldowns because I am a healing main. One modification I would make to this route: I would not pull this guy. It's not necessary. And then on Fortified Week, this would be a huge pain in the ass. You don't need it. The modification I would make would be to pull the two little normal difficulty blight bags behind the boss instead of this guy, and that makes up for the forces. But what are you gonna do? I'm gonna fast forward a little bit because I don't think there's anything really to be gained from it. We come down here. The rogue is a Kyrian. He uses the Kyrian buff. Well, okay, this is fine also. Just clearing this group instead of the guys behind the boss. Either way is fine. I'm pulling them away from the boss fight area because they're gonna leave poop on the ground, and I don't want the boss to get healed inadvertently because I make a mistake of like positioning or something, because that would be tragic. Skip forward a little bit. When this dies, the rogue goes and activates the Goliath with the Kyrian power. With this boss, you never want to spear. I see a lot of pugs make that mistake, or like, why aren't we spearing? Why aren't we hammering? Whatever. you don't use any tools on this boss. You use the Kyrian buff, you use Lust. This is Tyrannical Week, and we are going to melt this boss with a combination of those two things. I'm not going to focus too much on my rotation here, just because it's about the root. I will say that I'm using I'm using most of my rage on Ignore Pains, and I track my Ignore Pain buff and my shield block buff at the top with a weak aura. Extremely useful. Keeps me from having, like, I always know if I have my Ignore Pain up. It's not up right now, which is an error because he's about to use a Tank Buster. Oh, I used Ignore Pain there, which is good. I should have also already had my shield block going, and there it is. A little late. I'm using the I can't remember the name of the legendary, but it's the one that makes your charge and intervene do free revenge, some bonus rage, and free shield block. So I get a lot of value out of, well, intervening to people who are near me. If I don't need to intervene defensively, I will intervene to whoever's closest to me, anyone in melee or the healer, and just as a way to get a free revenge proc and a quick free revenge proc and a free shield. Skip up a little bit. We pull this group right here. You just AoE them down. No big deal. We're not going to gain really anything from watching this. Having a DK in the party and a Druid for a Sanguine Depths week, fantastic. Druid needs to be using Typhoon all the time. DK pulls people out of the blood. It's just nice. We come down here. So the main difference is that we're not going left. I've seen a lot of people, especially early in the patch, going left so that they could get this guy. You don't have to fight any of the gatekeepers or like clear all that shit on the left side. You could just come over here. You could even do this before the boss, but that could be a little bit sticky. For this guy, all you need to do is call out an order for kicking Inferno. Don't stand in the bad. The healer needs to cleanse Melt Soul off of people. It doesn't do much in the way of damage, but it doubles the fire damage they take, and then he has an aura that's dealing fire damage to everyone. Siphon Anima. I'm not a tank main, so I'm like, I don't know what to pick, so I went with the damage one. Crumbling Bulwark is also a nice choice, but I have a Resto Druid with me, so I'm going to be high health a lot. I'm here, pull this together. I think the Blaze's Kyrian thing. Oop, slight mistake there. Nobody kicked the thing, and I didn't stun it. But I think Blaze's Summon Steward was off cooldown. Or on cooldown, rather. Yeah, another slight mistake. I pulled the two ads at the beginning to this group, so the blood is like they wind up standing in blood a little bit. But we have a really on top of it Unholy DK in the party. Okay, pull these two groups together. The blight bags don't leave blood on the ground, so you can feel safe pulling them into a lot of things like this. They don't leave blood, they don't bolster, anything like that. We've got the Kyrian buff going, so we're getting a shit ton of damage off of it. Like, the tighter packed everyone is, the better. And then we're shrouding past these guys, because avoiding fighting them is a good thing. We're being a little bit risky with it, because we don't have... we still have the Kyrian buff going. There's always a chance that you can risk like tapping them with it, which pulls you out of Shroud. Could be bad. With these guys, when you're tanking them, you always want to face them away from the melee DPS, because the cleave will basically one-shot people. And then the trick is just call out who's kicking them, make sure you have a good order of kicking them. When the shield is destroyed, they take a ton of damage. Like, that guy lost over 50% of his health. And then, if you're the Kyrian doing this, you want to make sure not to dismiss your steward, because you can go back to back with one steward is opening both of these Goliaths. And the reason that we're starting this early like this is he thought he was going to lose his steward soon. So we pick up the blue balls, we use it to DPS down these ads. I haven't picked up a blue ball, I think. Big rip. I think I thought that I had, because I saw the buff on my, or the animation on myself, but you get that just if anyone in your party has one. Oh, it's a big rip. Anyway, so we clear this. Push in, do the mini boss. The pat just went away, like just a few seconds before this, so I felt safe pulling him now. If this was a fortified week, I might pull him closer to the where we fought the two Marauders, just so that we don't accidentally pull the big skeleton boy. We get a lot of DPS off of the Kyrian buff still. Once he goes down, we want to pull the big skeleton boy, and then you see here I kind of still not used to the patch because I forgot to get an anima power, and I'm a dumbass sometimes. Making people take reduced area of effect damage, always nice as the tank. And then we're going to grab the monstrosity, another thing we usually skip. We just AoE him down, or we just focus him down. Shatters his tank buster ability, but it doesn't do much damage on this week. That ability does a lot. You really don't want to get hit by it. Yeah, tank buster slaps a little bit. On fortified week especially, you want to be using like shield block, ignore pain, maybe even well, shield block would be enough. But yeah, just to demonstrate the point a little bit, you see Fluffboy doesn't quite make it out. Through the Meldraxxus shield bubble, he loses like a quarter of his health on top of that. It does a lot. Unfortified, it probably would have killed him. And here, Spell Reflect the Necrotic Bolt, and then Interrupt. Spell Reflect is OP as fuck. You Spell Reflect so many things. There's like a comprehensive list out there. I use a weak aura that tracks most things that you can Spell Reflect, which is just really nice. Excuse me. So here we go up, we pull these guys, pull them into this. We activate the orb from earlier in the first area, and then the orb basically does all the work for us. Right now, Odd Earth as a enhancement shaman is getting like 50k DPS with that orb. AoEs everything down, interrupts everyone. Just, you absolutely rip through them. And whoever grabbed the hammer at the beginning of this area also needs to grab the spear. I think actually that nobody grabbed it, because this is a little bit abnormal. Yeah, right now Blaze is running off to grab the hammer because nobody remembered to. But it's better to have him go do that than not grab the hammer. There was an undocumented nerf to it last Tuesday. It was 50% of the damage off of all of the equipment. Or I think actually just specifically the hammer and the spear. I really need to make a macro for doing that. It's like, hey, can you please grab square? Perfect. I come up here. I wanted to use Ancient Aftershock immediately to stun them, but it was on cooldown. But Ancient Aftershock's going to interrupt like all of these casts over and over and over again as it stuns them. It's beautiful. Plus it makes my damage numbers look really good because everybody's going to single target focus the Necromancer and, well, I get to do AoE damage. One thing I will say is that warrior tanks do a shitload of damage for what they are. It's actually nutty. This guy, I previously said that to fight this guy you need to be standing behind him. That is actually incorrect. You just need to be near somebody and then afterwards scatter. As long as you're nearby somebody, then you won't get feared. And then if you have like a warrior, you can just cheese it with Berserk. If you have a shaman, you can cheese it with Tremor Totem, but you shouldn't really need to. Like, just moving together and then spreading apart is fine. And then here I was about to pull the boss again because I keep forgetting about anima powers. Stygian King's barbs are crazy, especially for upstairs on this dungeon. Even getting it late on this dungeon, I think it wound up being like 2/3 of my, or like 10% of my damage or something. We had Voluptus start the fight off with a spear, and then I orbed because the ads on this. Once the ads are all dead, so once the breath goes off, we want to pull the dragon away from the dead ads so that melee DPS can keep hitting him, and we don't have to worry about the corpses that are on the ground underneath his butt. Another good thing is we have, 2 people who can soothe him. So every time he enrages, he just gets soothed, and we have the DK to Slappy Hands the ads on the second grouping. Just cleave them down. They die like bitches. Once they're done, again, we move the boss so we don't have to worry about... Oh, that's good. We move the boss again so we can keep DPSing and not have to worry about shit on the ground. Nobody has to stop hitting the boss right now. And that is probably the most annoying boss on Tyrannical Week. I consider this guy to be sort of the key killer, and that is just a really easy strat for just absolutely like fucking crushing him. He is absolutely a key killer with pugs on Tyrannical Weeks, and that's how you deal with him. These guys, it's just kind of a whatever deal. You just go through and whack them. We have 3 DPS with the volcanic plumage, so they're just constantly knocking up enemies. They never get to get a spell cast off. Extremely strong anima power. I'm sure it's going to get nerfed. They're probably going to reduce the procs per minute or something. I'm just going to skip ahead a little bit because this is all very standard. Come over here and do this pull. One thing to keep in mind when you're tanking is where is the patrol. If the patrol are coming to the left, I'm going to pull the group on the right first. If the patrol is coming towards the right, I'm going to pull the group on the left first. I never want to pull both. Nah, that's not true. If it's a tyrannical week and you're absolutely sure that you can cleave them down and you have enough like defensive cooldowns up, you could pull two at once. You just want to make sure that everyone's expecting it. The worst thing you can do is give your healer a nasty surprise. And then once the patrol goes down, keep them all. You want to keep them grouped for cleaving them down, but at the same time you have to worry about the Sanguine Ichor healing. I have a really hard time balancing. Like it's a challenge this week to balance keeping things together to do a lot of damage and making sure they don't get healed. Pain in the ass. Yeah. And as soon as it goes down, we're moving right to the mini boss guy, which is why I didn't just run away while the thing was going. This guy, it's really easy. You just... that was a mistake by me. You just break the chains. If you're a melee DPS, you whack him until the last second, and then you move out. I should have stayed there, hitting him a little bit longer. This is more of a healer fight, where he does a stomp that damages everyone. There's not much to do about this as a tank. As a healer, you just have to be ready to AoE heal people after all the things. You also have to make sure not to stand in his little stomp like I did. It's fine on a 14. Once you get to harder content, it can be bad. Stone Ward is good. If I'm the healer one where it increases self-healing by 50% is really good. I wish tanks could take it. Maybe not as a warrior tank. I lost aggro on the stitch work there and didn't pull it off in time. Oh, Odd took a hit there. If this was fortified, he was dead. Oh, my apologies. There we go. Pretty clean. I would like to see myself move that guy a little bit sooner so he didn't heal, but there's an awful lot to keep track of as a tank. And again, I'm not a tank main. I am definitely a healer main. I enjoy tanking. I like tanking a lot, and I think especially when my regular tank is like busy. I would, if you have to pug a 5th spot, I would rather pug a tank than a healer, which is why I do both. I prefer to heal, but if I have to have a pug member, I would rather it be a tank. Or I would rather it be a healer than a tank. So I would rather pug a DPS than either one, but I don't play DPS, so there's nothing I can do about that. Once those guys are down, you get the assistants. He's gonna target. They target 2 random people. Hopefully, sometimes they target 1 person. The idea is to make them hit each other with the cleavers. Makes this pull go a lot simpler. As the tank, you just want to make sure you whack both of them so they come together. On Sanguine, you want to make sure the caster dies first, because he doesn't move, and there's very little you can do to make him move. The melee guy, the guy that fixates, will move around all the time, and he wants to melee the tank once he's not fixating people. the caster guy will just stand there and cast Throw Flash over and over again until the Sanguine Ichor runs out. There's nothing you can do about him, really. That's that pull. Next, you have to deal with the 2 blue boys. You want to make sure you have some sort of defensive cooldown going for every mutilate. Because the first one isn't as bad, but the more he tenderizes, the lower your armor gets. I need a shield block, shield wall, demoralizing shout, boom, going out right there. Timing's a little, but I just ignored pain for 14k right there. Like, the mutilate is not to be joked with. And then the second boy, you can actually shield block the initial damage from his little vomit thing that he does, the spew disease. If he's targeting you with it, you can shield block it. Or, not shield block it, excuse me. Spell reflect it. You'll prevent the initial damage from the blast, which is cool. Or if he's targeting, like, DPS, a melee DPS that's next to you, you can spell reflect it, and you won't take any damage from the AoE that they forgot to get out of the group, which is nice. Once they go down, you want to, if you're not ready for the pull, if you're worried about your healer mana, you back off a little bit. I just do it reflexively because I worry about, like, oh shit, pull's over, I don't want to pull the boss. Look down at the healer's mana, healer's fine. Start the pull. The hook goes up, and then immediately we're hitting him right now with a javelin, a second javelin, a hammer, another hammer, and then a third hammer, I believe. Because we don't want... two-phasing this is really annoying. The second hook that the ad does has to be directed towards the stage where the boss was originally. Otherwise, because if you put it where he is now, that'll happen. He'll dodge it. And then from downtown, here he comes. And then as the tank, both of the Stitch Flush creations will do tank busters to you. You need to make sure you're popping cooldowns. I shield walled. I've got Ignore Pain. I've got Shield Block. I'm freaking the fuck out, slamming buttons. Down he goes. I used a potion there. I used a Last Stand. I had to pop all kinds of shit to not die there. And then for this, if you have any equipment, obviously you want to use it. If possible, you want to try to save, like, maybe it would have been okay to save the blue ball for this pull. But 6.5 minutes is more than enough time to kill this guy. It's just a fucking slog. And I don't think I really need to go in depth with this. Everyone knows this fight by now. He exiles someone, they run away, they have to go do a running around thing that I don't have to worry about as the tank or the healer. It's nice. Suck on that, monkey DPSs. And then you just fight him. You use damage cooldowns, AoE damage cooldowns anytime he uses... Anything that targets the floor is good to use when he's about to use Comet Storm. So, like, Ravage goes down then. I don't like... It's risky for me to put that down there. And that's exactly why. Because he's going to target someone with Frozen Binds. And then I'm going to have to run away with it. There's a chance that he went for the ranged person with it, and I wouldn't have to pull him out of the Ancient Aftershock. But he didn't. It was a mistake to put Ancient Aftershock down right there. But yeah, that's a bit of a mistake by whoever got exiled. I wasn't looking. When you come back, you want to go pee in the corner with that ice. Otherwise, that happens, and everyone has to move away. And now we have this whole section of the floor that's closed off to us. I think after a minute, the ice goes away. Pardon me. So it's not that bad. But yeah, that's basically the fight. And on Tyrannical, it just takes even longer. But you can't spell reflect the ice shard in terms of reflecting the damage and preventing all of it to yourself, but it does reduce incoming magic damage by 20%, which is huge. Oh, healing myself up with slimy consumptive organ. I think like a quick 11k heal from a trinket. I love it. Not my favorite trinket to take. I would love to have a scale from this patch, but RNGesus doesn't favor me. And yeah, that's basically it for Necrotic Wake. We timed that sucker. If you want to stick around for a quick second and watch me get some anima. And then I'm going to show... Oh yeah, I was very excited about that ring that he could not share with me. And then for talents and the Soulbind, here's what I take. Best serve cold just because of the legendary that I use. I'm getting a free revenge proc every single time that I intervene or charge, so best serve cold gets a lot of value. Booming voice is also amazing. I think there's a strong argument to be made both ways. I value the high AoE damage, especially in a week like this, where we can get large pulls in, so I take best serve cold. Devastator, I don't think needs explained. Stormbolt, Bounding Stride. One thing I did change in subsequent runs this week was I took... This was Tuesday, so we're fresh to the run. But Menace, I would not... I prefer Menace for Sanguine because you can blast people out of the Sanguine pools if you don't have someone with Typhoon or like a Death Knight. This run is fine. We have a Druid, Resto Druid, so he's got Typhoon, he's got Ursoc. We've got a DK, so we've got, you know, the Death Grip and Slappy Hands. If you don't have a lot of ability to move things out of the Sanguine pools, Menace is a better choice than Bounding Stride. If you do have a DK and a Resto Druid, then you can take Bounding Stride because the ability to kite is really nice. The lower cooldown on the jump and then extra movement speed when you land. Super good. Indomitable, it's like probably 40% of my self-healing or some shit like that. You get it's entirely passive, you don't have to do anything about it. Impending Victory is a noob trap. You get all of your healing off Indomitable. Ravager, super strong, offensive and defensive cooldown. Offensive because you throw it down and it does damage. Defensive because it builds rage while it's doing it. Then Anger Management because it lowers the cooldown on Avatar and on Shield Wall. I think I get Avatar about every 45 seconds with Anger Management. It's insane. And then for my Soulbind, right now I'm using Naya. I don't have the full Renown unlocked on this character. There's just not enough time in the week for me to do the full campaign on like 3 characters right now. So, but I'm using Naya because I basically get well-honed instincts on a warrior with this ability right here. Whenever you drop below 50% health, you heal for I think 20% of your health. It's literally the Druid well-honed instincts conduit. You just get it, and it's mine now. And then I don't have a lot of really good potency conduits, so I'm using the Adaptive Armor Fragment. It's fine. It's better on a tank than on a DPS because the tank is constantly getting healed, so you're constantly getting extra strength out of it. I think there's an argument to be made for using like Show of Force instead, but having extra strength is also good defensively because Ignore Pain scales off of your strength, so it can be pretty good. Anyway, that's it for me for now. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and if you want to come make fun of my tanking abilities or watch me die a lot in real time, then you can catch me anytime, basically every day, twitch.tv/Crowlia. Peace. Here goes the Miss Dancer. Boom. Down goes Zill because she can't dodge a thrust. Don't let her tell you that I got hit by a thrust today. Didn't happen. Definitely not on stream. Twitch.tv/Crowlia if you want to come, see how correct I am about not ever getting hit by those.